Planet Mission Part 1 by David Claiborne, as read by the author. New chapters every Monday. The full novel is available on Amazon.com and other online retailers. Links in the description. Chapter 28. Missionary Lee. Going was slow in the rover. The trip back to the spaceport was every bit as rough and rocky as the trip out, only Bo was alone this time. There was no one to take turns driving, no one to help change the batteries, no one to heat water for a bit of Mufasa's mush while he drove, no one to keep watch or monitor geomapping or navigate the gullies and washes, hills, rocks, and arroyos, no one to drive while he stopped to relieve himself. Bo had been energized at first, but the high faded soon enough to something like depression. He was not sad or grieving. In his actions he was resolute, a new man. His path was clear, or at least his guiding principle was clear. He was sure the details would present themselves in time. No, the lows he felt were the rebound of a fall from the height of a man reborn by his choices. He could drive for about 2 hours before he needed to rest. He ached, he was hungry, he was thirsty, he needed to pee, he wanted a nap. He was tired of driving, plain and simple. The terrain all felt the same on the way back, absent the novelty of a new place. Not like the drive out. That trip had been comparatively short, though when every bluff and blade of grass was new it seemed to take more time than it did. Now the plains were just a cloudy expanse, a wide sea interrupted only by the occasional wind rippling through tall stalks of accursed grass like waves. Above, only sky. Below, only dirt. And how far must he travel? At night the glow of Vides dotted the plain with thousands of pointillist lights that blended into the constellations, making heaven and firmament indistinguishable, but he despised the spectacle. He pulled a blanket over his head. He preferred to drive at night, but the lights mocked him, so he shut out the night and planned. Like a child with a flashlight in bed, too tired to sleep and too awake to dream, he sat under his blanket. His phone showed maps, diagrams, notes, stratagems. Long stratagems. He would need years, but he would gather to himself that which was most important. Authority, comfort, his best life now, his eternity. Power. One problem remained: the colonists. Their intransigence ruined his mission. The issue was trivial for the administration. Mufasa would resettle the colonists, and those who would not be resettled would receive supplemental education. He could not have a failure on his record, however. Even the ABS, which had eaten up his footage, ever eager to showcase the popular Mufasa in its programming, would not overlook the mission's failure. He needed a solution that evaded him still. He needed the colonists gone, separated from Earth. The journey to the colony had taken no more than a couple of weeks. His solo traversal back to the spaceport took many times that. One night he lay restless. He tried to sleep but could not. The lights mocked him. He tore out of the rover and pushed aside the tall, rigid grass. He cut his hands but did not care. He snatched up as many Vides as he could carry. In his fury he bit into the fruit deep as he could with one enormous bite, but found the fruit now had the bitter taste of gall. Instead, he tore at it with his teeth. He spilled the Vides as he thrashed. He filled his arms again, and when he could carry no more, stomped down hard on those in reach, soiling his pants and boots with the spatter. The juicy pulp glowed still, and that infuriated him even more. He climbed back into the rover and looked at the fruit that had not fallen from his arms with derision. "We'll see how well you survive off the vine," he said aloud, and poured the contents out onto the floor. At last, the space elevator took the place of the gas giant Polus in its dominance of the sky, and Bo felt that he was arriving back at civilization. Below, the comforting gray concrete and steel spaceport stood with its brown trailers lined up in neat rows. Only a few trailers had not been replaced from the tornado. Above, a dusty cloud of industry and smoke emanated from the factories and scaffolding where worker positions, those engines of society, implemented progress. He rolled into the gravel road between the trailers and main building. He brought the rover to a stop in front of the same doors out of which he had first stepped onto Polus IV proper. That was its real name, after all. No more colloquialisms. It was time for the truth, his truth, to dominate. Alice emerged from behind the sliding doors. A look of surprise flashed across her face only momentarily before she regained her doll-like composure and approached the rover, still dressed all in white. Behind her, Bo could see a new group of worker positions being treated to the same stupid, outdated introductory video. The rover's door opened, and Alice recoiled at the terrific stench that wafted forth. The rover had been home to a single occupant who neither bathed nor cleaned the rover for several weeks. The VDs had rotted on the floor where they lay, seeping their fetid juices into the cracks of the rover's interior where only the most determined refit detail had any hope of finding them. "Missionary Lee," Alice said, politely waving a white kerchief in front of her face and pretending to stifle a cough as a pretext for covering her nose. "You were not expected. We had no communication from you." Bo dropped to the gravel on both feet straight from the door and looked around. He breathed and appreciated the smell of civilization. Alice looked him up and down. The environmental suit was faded and dingy. His armpits were stained even through the suit's tough fabric. VD juice stained his chest and the cuffs of his pants and sleeves blood red. Alice pursed her lips in ever so slight disapproval and repeated herself. "You were not expected, Missionary Lee. We had no communication." "I know. That is why I'm here," Bo said. "We have not been able to transmit a Li-Fi signal for several weeks, months. This moon presents too much atmospheric interference, you know." "I am quite aware. Just as soon as you have cleaned up," Alice emphasized this point with a subtle inflection, "I would be happy to assist you in making use of the spaceport's Li-Fi. Or perhaps you would prefer to do so from one of the trailers?" "A trailer, I think," Bo said. "Then I will need to make arrangements, if you care to follow me," Alice said with a gesture of her palm toward the doors. Bo followed her back inside. The odor of his accommodations wafted after him, and the worker positions inside took notice as he passed. Alice grabbed and donned a mask from a cart as they passed through the doors. They walked through the amphitheater, and Bo was treated to a second viewing of the safety briefing. Suddenly, two ideas collided in his mind. "That's it," he said as they emerged from the dark room. "I'm sorry, Missionary Lee," Alice said. "I know what I need to do, Alice. Thank you for your help." "You are welcome."